We have been doing a deep dive balloon brand comparison, comparing 10 different balloon brands to determine which brand of balloons is the best brand of balloons for twisters to use. Previously, we just discussed the length of the balloons. Now we are going to discuss the width of the balloons. Now I will say, there is a much greater variation in the length of the different brands of balloons than there is in the width of the different brands of balloons. We're not going to see a huge difference in the width of the balloons as much as we saw in the length of the balloons, but there is a difference. So we'll just go through all of them. I kind of looked at them and analyzed them and determined which is the fattest, the thickest balloons, and organize it all the way down to the thinnest. So we'll start with the thinnest and work our way up. Now, with the length, I was able to determine the winner, right? We determined Sempertex was the winner or the best in terms of length, because I think when you're twisting with balloons, it's pretty objectively true, I believe, that you want your balloons to be longer as opposed to shorter. I feel like when you're twisting, a longer balloon is better than a shorter balloon. However, width is different. It's not necessarily better or worse to have a fatter or skinnier balloon. That's not as helpful as having a longer or shorter balloon. Does that make sense? So with this one, I'm going to let you know where all the balloons fall as far as width, but I'm not really going to declare a winner as far as which balloon's the best, because I honestly don't know. Is it better for your balloon to be skinny, or is it better for the balloon to be thicker? So here we go. The skinniest of all the brands was Calisan. So if you remember, I forgot to write on it. Calisan. Calisan was also the shortest. So Calisan is the shortest and the skinniest. So Calisan was the thinnest of all of the 260s, followed by Decomex. So Calisan was the thinnest, followed by Decomex, then Brookloon, then Sempertex, then Tilco, then Clownatex, then Qualitex, then Tuftex, then Elitex, and the thickest of all of the balloons, the widest, which I honestly was surprised by this, was Jamar. Jamar was actually the widest of all of the balloons. Now, there's a bunch of things that can affect how wide or how thin the balloons are. Sometimes if the latex is thinner, it might inflate a little bit more. If the latex is thicker, it might not inflate as much. I will say, if you are someone with smaller hands, having a thinner balloon might be easier to twist designs. So, especially if someone's like a child, and if you're trying to learn how to do balloons as a kid, Calisan might be a really good option, because I imagine that if you're first starting out, that having a balloon where the bubbles aren't going to be as thick because the balloon itself is not as wide, I think that might actually make certain designs a lot easier for you than having a thicker balloon. And as you can see, I mean, there is a noticeable difference, again, but the difference is not as big of a difference as with the length. With the length, it was a much more noticeable difference, the length between the different brands. When you get to the width, it's not as big of a difference. So this is the widest of all of the brands, the Jamar. This was the thinnest of all of the brands, the Calisan. But even as you can tell, you can see the difference, but it's not a massive, massive difference. So especially when you're comparing the two brands side by side, like the Elitex, which was our second widest, or the Decomex, which was our second thinnest. I mean, there is a difference in width, but I just wanted to let you guys know kind of where I ranked them all. But as far as if you're going to say which is the best, I don't know. It kind of just comes down to personal preference. What do you prefer? Do you prefer for your balloons to be thinner, or do you prefer for your balloons to be wider? But there you go.